The sky tore open like it had a secret to spill. No markings. No warning. Just the deafening roar of a black helicopter descending on the most elegant wedding Bloomfield Pines had ever seen. Guests screamed. The bride stumbled. And from that machine stepped a woman in navy. With 2 children at her side. She didn't blink. She didn't run. She walked straight down the aisle, like it had always belonged to her. She wasn't invited. But she was the reason this wedding would never finish. Who was she? Why now? And what did she come to reveal, in front of everyone? One thing's certain. She didn't come to stop the ceremony. She came to start something far more dangerous. It was the kind of June afternoon that made people believe again in hope. The sky above Bloomfield Pines was perfect, cruelly perfect, like it had something to prove. Blake Weston stood at the altar, tux crisp, smile polished, unaware that fate was already spinning above him in circles. The band played something soft and rich, violins weaving around the chairs like vines. The guests, high society's finest, leaned back in gold-trimmed seats sipping champagne. Melissa Harper, radiant in white, walked down the aisle slow and proud, each step rehearsed 1,000 times. Her brother Adam watched from the front row, grinning like the fox he was. Everything was going as planned. Then the noise came. Low at first, like a thunderstorm on the edge of the prairie. But it grew. Fast. Urgent. Wrong. Heads turned. The priest paused. Above them, slicing through that perfect sky, came a black helicopter. No markings. No clearance. Security scrambled. Guests panicked. Melissa stumbled. Blake narrowed his eyes. A voice inside him, a voice he'd buried, began to rise. The helicopter touched down on the edge of the lawn. Grass flattened. Dresses flew. And when the hatch opened, a woman stepped out. She didn't rush. She didn't flinch. She walked with the grace of a woman who had nothing left to lose. Beside her, a boy and a girl, twins, maybe 7, held her hands. Blake Weston forgot how to breathe. The woman wore a navy blue suit, sharp, elegant, severe. Her eyes scanned the crowd. And when they found Blake's, she didn't blink. She walked straight down the aisle like she belonged there, like it had always been her aisle. Olivia Weston. Except she wasn't Weston anymore. Not to him. Not to this crowd. And certainly not to the bride, who stood frozen halfway down the aisle, staring at the ghost of a woman she had helped bury. Blake took a step forward. Olivia, he whispered. The name felt foreign on his tongue. The little girl looked up. Mommy, she said, not quietly. Is that our daddy? A sound spread through the guests like a wave, not a gasp, not yet, more like a held breath waiting to collapse. Olivia turned to the children. Yes, she said, calm as a surgeon. That's him. Adam stood now, panic crawling into his smile. Melissa turned pale. Blake looked at the children. Then at Olivia. Then at Adam. Something wasn't right. His world tilted. I think you should hear what I have to say, Olivia said. Then came the sirens. Black sedans rolled up behind the helicopter. Badges flashed. Suits moved in. The man in front, tall and sharp, addressed the crowd without a microphone. Federal Bureau of Investigation. Adam Clark and Melissa Harper, you are under arrest for securities fraud, evidence tampering, and obstruction of justice. Chaos broke loose. Melissa screamed. Adam tried to run, only to be tackled by a female agent in heels. Flashbulbs erupted. Reporters who'd been invited for the fluff story of the decade now had something real. Blake just stood there, unraveling. You knew, he asked Olivia. I proved it, she replied. The children clung to her legs. Olivia stood taller. You kicked me out before you knew they existed, she said. You believed lies because they fit your pride. And now you know the truth. Blake looked at the twins. Something inside him cracked. The boy had his jawline. The girl, his mother's eyes. What are their names? He asked, voice low. Liam and Layla, Olivia said. They're yours. Whether you like it or not. Silence. The crowd was still now, unsure if they were witnessing a scandal or a resurrection. Blake reached out. Slowly. Cautiously. Like a man who knew he had already lost too much. Can I? He asked. Liam took a step back. Layla didn't move. Olivia nodded once. You can start by listening. The ceremony was over. But something else had just begun. That evening, while reporters devoured the spectacle on every screen across Illinois, Blake Weston sat alone in his mansion, looking at a school photo he didn't know existed. His son smiled from the page. His daughter had drawn a heart next to his name. His name. And in a small house in Springville, Ginny Bennett sat in her rocking chair with a smile on her face, watching the sky fade from gold to indigo. They don't see it yet, she said aloud, mostly to herself. But the fire's already lit. Blake Weston used to believe in logic. In the sterile math of business. He trusted spreadsheets, quarterly projections, and bloodlines. But there was a time before all that, back when a woman named Olivia lived with him in a quiet house in Greenwood, and love didn't need defending. Back then, he was just a rising executive, eager to prove himself outside his father's shadow. Olivia was already a star in the medical research field. Her work in targeted biochemistry was saving lives. She didn't wear jewelry. She wore lab coats. She smelled like coffee, antiseptic, and fresh hope. They were married 3 years. Built a life in the soft brick home on Elkhorn Drive. Mornings smelled like pancakes. Nights were for ideas and plans. He used to say, "You'll change medicine." And she'd reply, "You'll change the company." But every kingdom has traitors. It started simple, a whisper here, a missed call there. Olivia's hours at the lab stretched late into the night. She came home tired. Sometimes silent. Adam Clark, Blake's best friend since Harvard, began to raise questions. You sure she's being honest with you? At first, Blake laughed it off. But suspicion grows fast in men raised on performance. Then came the photos. Adam showed him a set of images, grainy, just believable enough. Olivia with a man outside the lab. Same man in another shot, opening her car door. She's playing you, Blake, Adam said, feigning grief. And you're too in love to see it. Melissa, Blake's younger sister, sharp as a razor, bitter from the shadows of the family legacy, played her part, too. I always thought she was ambitious, she said. Maybe too ambitious. She's not one of us. That night, Blake confronted Olivia. No questions. No space for truth. Just accusations and volume. You're cheating on me. She didn't cry. Didn't scream. She just looked at him with the kind of heartbreak that doesn't make sound. Is that what you think of me? She asked. I've seen the proof. And that was that. He didn't ask who the man was. Didn't check the timestamps. Didn't know Olivia had spent that afternoon begging a grant board for emergency funding to keep a cancer trial alive. The man was a senior doctor who had flown in to review the data. Blake had been her world. But now, she realized, he was just another man who didn't believe her when it counted. She packed what she could. Drove away in a car with a cracked windshield and half a tank. Her name was erased from the Weston home the next morning. She never told him she was pregnant. Those first nights on the road were cold. Olivia slept in parking lots with the seat reclined and the windows cracked. Fast food wrappers. Lab samples in a cooler. A fading photo of her wedding day on the dashboard. She turned it face down on day 4. She almost broke on day 12. Then, Springville. Jeannie Bennett, folks just called her Ginny, was the kind of woman who could size a person up in one glance and know if their soul was cracked or just dusty. Widowed 20 years. Still wore her husband's wedding ring. She found Olivia behind the grocery store, curled in her car like a forgotten piece of luggage. Ginny tapped the window. "That your baby crying, or your heart?" Olivia didn't answer. "Either way, come inside. I got soup." And just like that, a woman who had nothing found someone who gave her everything. Ginny's house smelled of cedar and old records. Olivia stayed 2 nights. Then a week. Then came the test. 2 lines. Red. Bold. Unforgiving. Twins. Ginny didn't flinch. "Then we'll need more soup." Olivia cried for the first time in weeks. Not out of fear. But because someone had said we. She started over. Rachel Myers came into her life through a contact at Stanford, a professor turned renegade after too many deals with too many devils. Rachel had the lab. Olivia had the mind. Together, they founded Phoenix Biolabs. Olivia used her maiden name, Brooks. The past was dead, and no one could know Weston's ex-wife was leading the charge to unseat Weston Health's monopoly. She worked nights. Raised the twins in daylight. Ginny helped, watched Liam and Layla while Olivia fought for funding, patents, trial approval. Dr. Evan Myers, Rachel's son, became their pediatrician. Quiet. Good with kids. Always remembered birthdays. And still, Olivia kept her past buried like a locked drawer. But fate's got a key to every door. Meanwhile, back in Chicago, Weston Health surged forward. Under Adam and Melissa, the company focused on shareholder profits, not patient lives. Drugs became more expensive. Side effects increased. But the revenue stream was clean. And Blake, still lost in work and board meetings, kept his head down. He dated casually. Mostly models, influencers. Nothing that asked questions. But the brand began to bleed. Quietly at first. Investors noticed Phoenix Biolabs swallowing market share. Their treatment, a targeted immunotherapy compound, was cheaper, cleaner, more effective. Blake demanded answers. Adam told him Phoenix was a threat, sure, but not urgent. "We're still dominant." But the report said otherwise. A child in Iowa survived late-stage leukemia after Olivia's treatment. Then another in Tucson. Hospitals started switching suppliers. And Blake started hearing her name again. Not Weston. Brooks. Then came the article. Front page. The Phoenix rises, how Olivia Brooks is healing what Big Pharma broke. The photo stopped Blake cold. The eyes. The smile. His children. He didn't know it yet, but in 1 week, she'd land a helicopter in his wedding. The dead don't rise. But dreams do. Olivia Brooks didn't seek revenge. She built something better. Something cleaner. While Weston Health sank into glossy ads and hollow science, she was working late nights in an old converted warehouse with leaky ceilings and dusty windows. There, Phoenix Biolabs was born, not from fury, but from fire. Rachel Myers, the old Stanford renegade, knew the stakes. She'd walked away from the academic grind and pharma bribes. When Olivia walked through her doors, carrying twin infants and a research binder worn at the edges, Rachel didn't ask questions. She just said, "Welcome. Let's light a match." And light it they did. The treatment started with cancer. Not the headline kind. The stubborn, quiet ones. The kind that hid in the bones and lungs of kids who didn't get coverage. Olivia knew those families, she'd met them during her research. She remembered the way the parents talked, not with fear, but fatigue. So she targeted them first. Built an immunotherapy compound that didn't strip hair or murder appetite. It didn't make a fortune overnight. But it saved lives. And those lives started talking. Hospitals began whispering. Orders came in from clinics in Milwaukee, Des Moines, Little Rock. One mother in Nebraska said her child danced again. Another in Georgia said he started growing hair back by week 2. And all the while, Olivia kept her name hidden. Legally, Phoenix Biolabs was tied to Brooks, not Weston. No one asked. And she didn't offer. The press caught on slowly. A profile here. A small article there. But when Time magazine put her on the cover with the title, The Quiet Revolutionary, it was over. Weston Health noticed. Hard. Back at headquarters, Adam Clark spun numbers and manipulated margins. Melissa, now Blake's fiancée, worked PR angles, deflecting critics with ribbon cuttings and charity galas. Blake, in the thick of it, watched the quarterly profits dip and didn't know why. But he noticed something else: patient complaints. Lawsuits. Side effect spikes. A whistleblower inside the lab sent him an anonymous report, side-by-side comparisons of their latest chemo drug and Phoenix's compound. Weston's was causing neurological damage in pediatric cases. Blake read the numbers. Once. Twice. Then threw the report across his desk. Get me Adam. But Adam was slippery. It's noise, he said. Competitor propaganda. We're still the gold standard. Blake didn't believe him. Not anymore. He stayed up late that night. Read every article he could find on Olivia Brooks. The woman's face haunted him. Not just for what it stirred in his gut, but for what it unburied in his memory. The way she used to look after 12 hours in the lab, eyes tired, but shining. The way she'd laugh when he fell asleep on the couch reading clinical trial data. The way he'd left her, like throwing out a priceless painting because someone said it was fake. He opened a video from a Phoenix clinic in Michigan. A girl, 8 years old, rang a victory bell after surviving stage 3 lymphoma. Her doctor thanked Phoenix Biolabs for making it possible. Blake stared at the screen. The girl looked like Layla might. Back in Springville, Olivia had found rhythm. She rose early. Made breakfast for the twins. Liam liked eggs, Layla hated crusts. Ginny read them stories after school, always from the same creaky rocking chair. At night, Olivia combed through data reports and clinical submissions. She never talked about Blake. Not to the kids. Not to Ginny. Not even to Rachel. But Dr. Evan Myers, Rachel's son, pediatric surgeon, and the one man who didn't treat her like glass, had started to ask. At first, it was innocent. Liam had a fever. Evan made house calls. Then he brought Legos. Then Layla called him Doc Ev. Then came the Sunday mornings at the farmer's market. The slow walks back to the car. The look in his eyes, gentle, steady, waiting. Still, Olivia kept a lock on her heart. One betrayal is enough to poison a woman for years. You don't have to be alone, Evan said one evening, watching the twins play in the yard. Being strong doesn't mean being alone. She didn't answer. But she didn't walk away either. Then came the day the world learned who she was. A journalist, smart, relentless, and a little bit nosy, connected the dots. Court records. Former addresses. Patent filings. He traced Olivia Brooks back to Olivia Weston. And when the piece dropped, it detonated. The woman who dared to leave Weston, and then outbuilt it. Stock markets froze. Weston Health went on damage control. Reporters swarmed. Blake saw the article the same morning Melissa handed him a wedding checklist. He looked up from his phone and said 4 words that made her blood run cold. She's not the enemy. Melissa froze. Who? He showed her the article. Her face turned to stone. Melissa Harper had spent 6 years building a future from Olivia's ruins. And now the ruins were standing again, taller than before. She made a call. That night, Olivia received a subpoena. Weston Health was suing Phoenix Biolabs for IP theft, claiming her research was based on company assets from 6 years ago. Olivia smiled when she read it. Calm. Unshaken. She handed it to Rachel. They're panicking, she said. Rachel nodded. So what do we do? We finish what we started. Meanwhile, Blake did something unthinkable. He walked out of a board meeting. No explanation. Just stood up and left. He drove 2 hours to Springville. Parked outside a modest ranch home with a white fence and a sandbox in the yard. He didn't know what he'd say. He just knew he had to say something. The door opened. Layla stood there. She stared at him. You're the man from the magazine, she said. He crouched. Yes. She tilted her head. Mom says not to talk to people with cameras. He smiled. I didn't bring one. Then she looked past him. Mom. He's here. Footsteps. Fast. Then slow. Olivia stepped onto the porch. She didn't flinch. Didn't speak. Blake stood. I just want to talk, he said. Not as a CEO. Not as your ex-husband. Just, as someone who owes you everything. The porch light buzzed above them. I've got 15 minutes, she said. He nodded. That's more than I deserve. Blake Weston sat on Olivia's porch like a man at a confessional. The light above them flickered, casting shadows across the quiet Springville yard. The air smelled of summer soil and old regrets. Liam and Layla played on the grass, their laughter rising in small, sharp bursts. I didn't know, Blake said. About them. About what they did to you. Olivia sat still, arms crossed, not for warmth, for armor. I didn't come for apologies, she said. I came for truth. And for them. She nodded toward the twins. Blake nodded, slowly. I want to know them. You'll have to earn that, she replied. Every inch. Over the next weeks, Blake returned, never uninvited, never too often. He brought books. He learned that Liam liked trains and hated cucumbers. That Layla could draw anything with just a pen and a napkin. He watched, listened, stayed late sometimes, helping clean up after dinner. But Olivia kept her distance. She hadn't forgiven him. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Still, something shifted in the air when Blake laughed with his daughter, or carried Liam inside when he fell asleep on the porch swing. One morning, Rachel stormed into Olivia's lab with a folder and fire in her eyes. We have a leak, she said. Weston Health knows your next trial details. The lawsuit wasn't a distraction, it was a smokescreen to buy time. Olivia opened the folder. Internal memos. Emailed blueprints. Time-stamped. Then a signature. Adam Clark. Same old playbook. Same old coward. But Olivia didn't crumble. She called Blake. You said you wanted to fix this, she said. Here's your chance. They met in a private diner outside Chicago. No suits. No lawyers. Olivia slid the folder across the table. This is what your company's done. You're bleeding money, your staff's demoralized, and the patients, the people we're supposed to serve, they're walking away. Blake looked through the documents. His hands trembled. You came here to burn us down, he asked. She sipped her coffee. I came to offer you something no one ever offered me, a second chance. Her proposal was audacious, merge Phoenix Biolabs with Weston Health. Rebuild the company on new terms, transparency, ethics, affordability. I'll take over clinical operations. You handle logistics. The boards removed Adam and Melissa. You're alone now, Blake. This is your shot. Blake stared at her. Why are you doing this? Olivia looked out the window. Because people still need medicine. And our kids still need to live in a world where the good guys win once in a damn while. The deal nearly fell apart at the board meeting. The old guard grumbled. Shareholders panicked. But then Eleanor Weston, Blake's mother, long retired from public life, stepped into the room. She stood at the head of the table in a dark suit and pearls. Her voice cut through the noise. You let my son throw away his marriage based on gossip. You helped bury a woman who was 10 times the leader any of you ever were. And now you want to balk at progress. Silence. My vote, she said, is with Olivia Brooks. And if you have a problem with that, I suggest you find another board to poison. The merger passed. Barely. Afterward, Blake drove to Springville again. This time, Olivia met him at the car. I signed the papers, he said. I know. The labs will be yours by the end of the quarter. I know that too. He hesitated. Do you trust me? She looked at him. Not yet. But I believe you're trying. That was enough. Back at Phoenix, things moved fast. Olivia restructured the R&D wing. Rachel took charge of trials. Dr. Evan Myers, who'd stayed quiet during the merger storm, became chief medical liaison for pediatrics. And slowly, the press began to change its tone. Weston reborn. The Phoenix model, ethics first, profits later, can it work? And most importantly, patients came back. Layla and Liam adapted quickly to their new world. They visited the Weston estate in Bloomfield Pines. They met their grandparents. Eleanor adored them. Blake's father, stone-faced and formal, broke into tears the first time Liam called him Grandpa. They even met Blake's dog, a lazy golden retriever named Samson, who instantly became their third sibling. But one night, as Blake was reading bedtime stories to the twins, Layla asked something Olivia hadn't expected. Is Dr. Evan going to marry Mommy? Blake paused. I don't know, he said. Would that be okay? Layla smiled. He already asked her. Blake swallowed. And? She said yes. Later that week, Olivia told Blake herself. I didn't keep it from you to hurt you. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. He nodded. You don't owe me anything, he said. Except maybe more time with them. You'll have it. She paused. You've changed, Blake. So have you. They say time heals all wounds. That's a lie. Time just teaches you how to live around the scar. But some days feel like a beginning. It was a Sunday in late September. A soft day, golden light cutting through the trees like honey. In Bloomfield Pines, the Weston house had been dressed not in marble or money, but in balloons, crayon drawings, and the smell of barbecue. The twins, Liam and Layla, were turning 8. 8 years old. The number hung in the air like a blessing. Like a question answered. There were no photographers. No suits. No headlines. Just the people who mattered, gathered not by blood or wealth, but by what they had survived. Blake stood at the grill, flipping burgers with the precision of a man used to control, but smiling like someone who had finally let go of needing it. Olivia set the cake down on the picnic table. Chocolate, 3 layers, handmade by Ginny, who now sat in a lawn chair under the oak tree, watching everything like an old general who'd finally won the war. Evan was beside her, sleeves rolled, helping Layla with her kite. The string kept tangling. Layla kept laughing. And each time Evan untangled the knot, Olivia smiled a little wider. Rachel Myers sat nearby, sipping iced tea and quietly marveling that the company they'd built in secret now stood shoulder to shoulder with the giant they'd once feared. Even Blake's parents were there. Eleanor, elegant, sharp, handed Liam a gift-wrapped telescope. And Robert Weston, once the steel spine of Weston Health, kneeled in the grass helping his grandson assemble it. "This lens is yours now," he said. "Use it to look forward." Olivia found Blake by the cooler. They hadn't talked much all day, but their silence had changed. It no longer carried weight. Just understanding. "Thank you for today," she said. "I should be thanking you." He handed her a lemonade. "I still remember the night you left." She looked down. "I was stupid," he continued. "But I've spent the last year trying to be something those kids can be proud of." "You are," she said quietly. They stood there a long while. "You love him?" Blake asked, no resentment in his voice. "I do." Blake nodded. "Then that's all I needed to know." As the sun dipped lower, Ginny clapped her hands. Time for the photo. It had become a tradition, one Liam had insisted on. Every birthday, they'd take a picture. Not of presents. Not of cake. But of family. Everyone gathered on the grass. Olivia and Evan. Blake beside the twins. Ginny in her floral shawl. Rachel, the godmother in all but name. Eleanor and Robert, arm in arm. They posed. Smiled. The wind caught Layla's hair. Liam held up a hand to block the sun. Olivia wrapped her arms around them all. The timer beeped. The shutter clicked. A moment caught. A memory sealed. Not perfect. But real. That night, after the guests had gone and the stars had taken their posts, Olivia sat on the porch alone. Evan came out, handed her a blanket. Sat beside her. "They're asleep?" she asked. "Like bricks," he said, grinning. "Liam's holding that telescope like it's the Ark of the Covenant." She laughed. Silence again. Then Olivia whispered, "I never thought I'd see this. Not the cake or the photo. But peace. This kind of peace." Evan nodded. "You earned it." "No," she said. "We all did. Blake. Rachel. Ginny. Even those two little troublemakers upstairs." She turned to Evan. "Will it last?" He looked up at the stars. "Maybe not forever. But tonight? It's enough." Inside, Liam stirred. Got up. Walked down the hallway to Layla's room. "Hey," he whispered. She opened one eye. "Tomorrow," he said, "we should take another picture. Just us. Just for fun." Layla nodded, half asleep. "Okay. But you have to smile this time." In the kitchen, on the fridge, the photo had already been pinned up. The new tradition. 8 candles on a cake. 8 souls lit by it. And in a quiet room down the hall, Olivia closed her eyes and whispered the same words she used to whisper when the world felt like it would never turn again. "Thank you for the fire." Write in the comments where you're from, let's see how far these stories can spread. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss new exciting stories. See you soon.